Conservation Commission. This is Monday, November 18th. This is our annual meeting at 6 p.m. at the conference room at 160 Patriots Road, East Templeton, Mass. We will start with reading the minutes of last month. Month before last or whenever. Mm-hmm. And can I get a second? I mean approval?
Is it for the last one?
Huh?
Last ones?
Yeah.
I wasn't here on this one.
Oh, that was one before. Okay, we'll do that. That was a special. And then we had
okay, this one. All in favor.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Which date was that for?
The September 16th.
16th.
Thank you.
And me and Vinnie will have to approve the ones for the 16th because he was unavailable.
The 30th?
Oh, okay. I make a motion we approve. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye? Okay. We approve that. We'll take care of that. Now I can go to the last thing down, right? Is that right?
Yep, now you can, yep.
Go to the last one down.
Nope. Start with number 1.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, Cook Road, Lot 2. That will be you.
Sit up here.
Yes, would you please? Okay. Okay, we went out and inspected this already.
Yep.
And what were we going to do? Figure out, number one, how to take care of the water at the beginning of the driveway, am I correct?
Yep, they have a culvert installed there, or will be installed there.
Huh?
They have a culvert pipe that will be installed there where
All
it'll
right,
get
you've got the
across.
pipe already under?
No, not yet, but they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, remember that one if you walk in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So whole existing there. I'm trying to figure out, well, okay, this is where we walked in. Remember we had all the water coming down here?
Yeah.
So they're going to put 30-foot front zone setback. So they're going to put a pipe from here to here so the water will drain down so they can get the driveway in.
Yep.
Okay.
That's basically where the natural channel is for the flow of water.
That's the best place to do it, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll make a little
Now,
sump
how big
off.
of a pipe you putting?
12-inch.
Probably,
Yeah.
that's good enough for there. Because you only have it in the spring when it comes down off the land.
Yeah, or
so,
heavy rain, you know,
yeah,
but not all the time.
Okay. Okay, any question? Anybody else have a question? It'll come down, go way down here like it was.
And of course, when they actually do the work, they'll get the erosion controls up and have you inspect them before
Right,
they.
when they're up, just let's have.
Right, which probably won't be till next spring at this point, but.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Just give us a notice and we'll welcome
Yep,
inspect it.
absolutely.
Okay. Down to the natural-
Just in this section, there should be a little bit of riprap. in
Yeah,
front of that.
on the bottom, on the back end of it,
Yep, where the outfall is, yep.
we have riprap in there?
Yeah, we can put that in there, yep.
Okay, that's the only thing we really need, because otherwise you don't want.
Right, it'll continue to erode away, so.
It's to save us so it doesn't drop off the edge.
Yep.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Where do we have paperwork?
Did I do it for that one?
Probably.
I'm not sure what you
This
mean.
way, huh? I don't know.
I'll go do a sheet for you for it.
I don't think she finished it. We don't have it here.
No, you don't.
Okay. Okay, we'll get it signed and get it sent out to you.
Okay, so it'll be a negative determination, and we just got to
Huh?
It's a negative determination then?
I negative determination.
Okay, and then we just gotta put the riprap on there and, make sure you inspect the
Right.
erosion controls before they
Yep,
start.
yep. Okay,
Great.
then we'll send a copy out to you, and, you want it, or send it to him?
Either's fine. I mean, if you wanna send it to me, I'll make a copy for my file and get it to the.
Okay, we'll do that.
I like to,
Okay,
I like to keep my files pretty complete, so just so we have everything.
all right. Thank you.
Okay?
That was easy enough.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
very much.
Good night, John.
Okay, put everything together so I don't lose anything like I've done before.
You get yourself one of those hanging file folder
Huh?
containers.
What's that, containers?
Yeah. file folder.
That's in
It
the
still
other,
takes more bark.
should just stay mobile, that's all she'll do for us. Okay. Okay, closed at 6:05 PM. Okay, the next one will be Mr. Fontaine, certificate of completion. Come on up. Come on up there, you. Okay, I've already gone out and checked this out, and basically the wetlands ended up, and the wetlands are basically on the Winchendon side of his. So he's all set on his side, he's got it all grassed, everything's all taken care of, he can take down the other parts when he's ready, as far as I'm concerned. Now, again, I've got a piece of paper. All right. Can I get a motion to, okay, this certificate of compliance?
I'll make a motion to accept the certificate.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so done. Okay, we'll just sign it and give them to you.
I would like to make a photocopy for our records.
Oh, you will have it in a minute. I've got a second copy here. This is, the 18th? Believe me. 11, 18, 19. You wanna sign that one? And I'll sign this one.
Did you check off your boxes, George?
Oh. Oh, complete certification. Yeah, that's what I have to sign, okay. That's it. If you want this in this.
All right. That's the one I filed on Worcester.
Yeah, that's the one you wanna file on, Lisa, yeah? And this is the one we're gonna keep.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you very much. And 6:09, close on.
We are so efficient.
We got so efficient tonight, yeah. That's what I would like to have. Okay. Wayne Fontaine. Let me just do that one. Let me do that, Wayne's, okay. These are our next sidewalks, ain't worry about that. Okay. Our third one will be Mr. Lee from Templeton Fishing Gun Club. Come on up, make yourself at home.
They've got, a handout there. See, for each one of you. Make the discussion easier.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you just see the building inspector about this, right?
I did.
Okay.
And you know what he said? He said, it had nothing to do with,
Yeah, it's because it's a private club,
yeah,
and
but he just, but we
Yeah.
looked over the plan.
But-
Thank you.
we just
So
wanna
the-
make sure.
So, but I spoke to Mr. Andrew, again, my name's Ernie Lee. I am the Director of Pond and Forestry at the Templeton Fish and Game Club. Recently been elected. So I'm a new guy, don't know a lot about the job. So I've been doing a lot of reading, and I've got some plans, long-term plans for the club.
Yep.
And I wanted to discuss that with the commission.
Yep.
The first item of business was the letter I presented to you, Mr. Andrews, which was
Right here.
a letter requesting commission concurrence for the drawdown that we expect to commence the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's an annual drawdown. It's 10 days in duration.
Yeah.
And basically it's for weed control. It does allow for some cleanup of waterfront property, and it also reduces the turbidity somewhat.
Right, and
Okay.
whereas this year the water level is down in the pond out on Route 2, there's no reason, Route 2A rather, by you may do that.
Okay,
And
so we have a concurrence of,
There's no problem with that there. We expected it to start this week anyhow.
yeah, I tried my best to look at all the ordinances. I couldn't find where we required formal
No,
permission, but we definitely need concurrence in the event that some
Yeah.
other concern downstream.
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the only thing with that, once they notify us that they're gonna, they usually let us know, they come in
Yeah.
and annually they renew the thing. And then it's always an automatic thing if the water level isn't. Last year was our concern that we didn't allow
I'll
either.
be the guy turning the valve this year, so.
Be doing that's a lot of fun. Okay,
Also gave you a little handout. We'd like to discuss maybe putting in a permanent boat ramp, a real boat ramp. There's a little map I gave you in there of all the camps around the perimeter of the of Partridgeville Pond.
Yeah.
I kind of highlighted all the right-of-ways on another handout I gave you there. Now, what they've been doing is people put their boat in on the right-of-ways, and it's basically been tearing them up pretty good. So the erosion around there is not good. We actually had one guy rip the transmission right out of his Humvee, putting it in one of his sailboats, because the muck is deep. It's just not that good. I mean, and it's not good for erosion control. It would be nice if those right-of-ways were actually for swimming and, rather recreation and not for putting boats in. So we'd like to scope out putting a permanent boat ramp in after the drawdown.
right,
Not gonna do it this winter. What we'd like to do is, once we get the water down, is to scope out where we think the best location for one would be. I circled on that map where the dam is.
Yep.
And where we think it might be a good preliminary location for a boat ramp. Put a circle, it's to the right of where would be
yeah, right
the
over
swimming
there.
area.
Yep.
But we definitely have to look it over. Also on this, so that's just for preliminary planning, and as if there was any concerns or things that I should know prior to, final plans. I think we come up with the final plans, we'll bring them to the commission, make sure that you know what our
Yep.
plans are.
Okay, yep.
I talked to the building inspector, he said he didn't have a horse in that race. So he says basically,
Well, that's the thing.
Conservation.
Yeah, that's the trouble with, it is a private pond, and it's up to you guys to decide what you're going to do there.
there's two options really, a cement boat ramp, like you see at some of these other places like Queen Lake, they've got cement. I got a handout I gave you there. It's sort of a cement rolled out mat. You can look at it on YouTube. Once you put it down, it doesn't come back up. You have to have basically a backhoe of some sort to roll this thing out. But they use those in Florida quite extensively. The advantage to that is it does allow some growth in between, but they're really designed for erosion if you had like rivers and things like that. We don't have the erosion like that.
Right.
But ecologically, it would be better. But we have to actually take a look at, the cost and all that.
Right.
So anyway, that's the long-term plan of what we're looking at. Is there any permits required? Any,
No, because anything that you would be required would have to come from building, and he said you don't need it from building.
that's right,
department.
it's not a structure.
As long as we know that you're not building a building right there.
Right.
Or something like that there.
Yep. And I think it's actually an improvement from an erosion standpoint from all those right-of-ways. It's just,
Oh, absolutely.
it's not good that way.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have one place to put all the boats in rather than every
Right.
camp having to try to
There's
get
actually
them.
some other benefits in that if it's on that side of the lake, people pull their boats out and they allow them to store their trailers up on the high ground up in the back of the field.
Right.
They wouldn't have to register their trailers anymore, drag them around. Every year, it's just, you put them in, you take them out, you store the stuff up there. So there's a lot of benefits to it. On that same handout, I wrote in, I kind of put in a little squiggly line for some rocks. You see on one of the sheets where I was highlighting the right-of-ways circulating.
Yeah.
I also wrote where there's some rocks. When we do the drawdown, you see that there is definitely some shallow, I don't think it's rocks. I actually think it's
Ledge probably.
probably ledge.
Yep.
It looks pretty nasty. I've actually hit it with, I've got a little 10 horsepower motor on a little wooden runabout. A number of people have hit those. They're only about, I'd say, some of them are only about a foot underneath the water. It's really, it would be nice to be able to top them off. So we spoke about that. Once the water is down, if we can get out to there, and I think that's completely dry there, if we get out there with a jackhammer get a couple feet off the top of those, that would be a major improvement. And as long as we're not putting equipment in the water,
Right.
I understand that that's
Yeah.
allowable.
Well, as long as, like I said, as long as you're chopping them off and
Yeah.
you're taking them out of the water,
Yeah.
get them out of your way so that somebody else don't hit them because they move.
No,
And the
no,
water
it's,
comes back up,
well, the plan is we have some plywood. We're probably gonna have to put down some plywood to get out there because the muck is
Oh, yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
deep up there. So just to get out there with a generator, I got a generator, another guy's got a jackhammer, and just take off about a foot or 2 feet, whatever we can manage to get it down so we have some clearance for the boats.
Again, that's,
That's an improvement. And the last thing is, long-term muck reduction. I mean, that pond's been there since, well, the club started up in the 1930s. We've been losing some depth. Just the leaves and, just debris over time accumulates in there. And the muck is pretty thick. We've had one instance where we had some algae growth this past fall. And we actually shut down the water and
right, I remember,
talked
yeah.
to and a lot of it has to, and you can just see, the water's really dark. A lot of it has to do with the bottom just being so mucky. So we'd like to investigate some muck mitigating things or reduction. I don't know if, I don't think we're gonna go as far as maybe dredging. That's probably way out of our price range, but maybe there's something, once the water's down, if there's some way we can get some of that muck up and maybe start reclaiming some of that depth. We're gonna look at that again this year, once the water's down.
Okay.
And once we have a solid plan, then we'll bring it to you. And
Okay,
there's nothing planned this year for doing that, just a preliminary planning stage.
Okay.
And that's all I've got.
all right. And like you said, with the other problem you had, you talked to Mr. Tulip,
Yep.
and you moved to a stone.
Yeah, there was the stone wall actually collapsed into the stream that feeds the pond.
You know where that tree was last year? On the backside?
It's Rainbow Drive all the way down to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, well, part of the stone wall fell and went into that same area. So they talked to Mr. Tulip, and he has okayed them taking the stones to the wall out and putting them on the side. And
Yep.
And eventually, are you guys gonna be taking the tree down eventually, or?
We're gonna see how it works out, because when we move those rocks, we moved it towards the wall side. I think what's gonna happen is just naturally, I'm hoping the stream is gonna naturally
take care of
start
itself.
carving out some of that banking,
Oh, good.
and kind of flow itself and fix itself. It would
Straighten
be
itself
nice
out.
to do that.
Good.
Otherwise, we'd have to take a tree down and be able to get in there with a backhoe and move some of that stuff.
Okay.
Some of the pieces were actually cemented together, so we couldn't actually get them out. So we just kind of moved them as best we could up against the wall. So the water is directing around it now.
Yeah, you'll have to be careful when you move the embankment, that you don't cause a lot of silt going down. We
Right.
might even be able to digging back, kind of like undermine, and then use those rocks to rebuild the edge,
Right,
opposed to letting all that mud go down.
right. So unfortunately, it would have to take some heavy equipment like a backhoe to get in there to do what we really need to do. We didn't have
But
time this year.
you would want to do it relatively quick.
Yep.
And by hand is not going to cut it.
No.
So you're
No.
most likely going to have to use a backhoe.
Right. And need to clear it because of, once we get the spring, get some snow, we get some thawing, we get some rushing. It was completely blocked. It was gonna overflow the camp,
Right.
maybe even wash out the guy's tight tank. So that would
Well,
be,
that's what we were worried about
Yeah.
last year when it first.
so we had to get
started.
it at least unblocked, and we did that this weekend,
Yeah.
so. Um,
Okay.
But the neighbor seems reasonable for, doing whatever we need to do to correct that problem.
Any other questions? Well, I guess we're all.
I got my name and phone number at the bottom of that letter. If
Yes,
you have any
Yes, we'll keep this on
comments,
file.
questions,
What's your pitch of your
Ramp.
permanent ramp?
I think it specifies on there what the pitch has to be on that plan. And that's why we have to kind of scope out what
Okay.
do we have that's close to that. Probably would have to do some excavating and put in some stone because you can't put that thing on muck.
Right.
That type of a ramp is about $5.50 a square foot, so we're talking about $4,800 for that, plus it'd have to be delivered, plus probably another $4,000 to have a company come in and actually do it. It's not something you do by hand. So it's probably in the order of around $10,000 when we're done. So we want to scope it out first, but there is a requirement for a slope.
Yeah, so I was trying to read it, it's kind of small for
Yeah,
my
it's-
glasses.
I apologize for that, but it's, best I could get off the internet. Okay,
All right. Any more
thank you very
questions?
much.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lee. And it's down to 6:21. Now we go to the last one, adjourn. Oh, wait a minute, no, Cassie's here. Yeah, I like to pick on Jessie. Come on down, Jessie. She's from the North County Land Trust. She asked to come speak to us today.
Yes, I did. Two different things, really, but all about Dwelly Farm Conservation Area. So, I wanted to let you know that we have finished the bridges.
Yeah.
We filed that notice of intent. We did finish the bridges, so what do I need to do now to?
Okay, you need to file a certificate of completion. Okay, we can get that from her,
Okay,
or from her secretary, they'll give it to you then.
it'll be me.
And then we'll go up, take a look, and then we'll sign it off.
Okay, all right, so I've, stupid
That's easy enough,
confession.
huh?
Yep, that's easy enough. So I get a certificate of completion, file it, and then?
Right.
Okay,
And
great,
out there, it'll let you, take it down, Worcester, and take it off your
great.
paperwork.
Yeah, so the only thing I should say is that the ramps are in place for the most part. We do have to do a little bit of finish work on the ramp, but the weather, finish that. But you can see, where the finished area will be. So, so that's the first thing. Okay, then the second thing is, we want to do some fairly extensive management at the properties. And this is based on all the different plans that we've had in place. The farm plan that was done by NRCS, the stewardship plan that was done by Roger Plord, the forester, and also we've had a plan done by Mass Wildlife. So we've got a major issue up there with invasives, glossy buckthorn namely. Where there was a timber harvest done, before we owned the property, the glossy buckthorn got in there and it has just exploded. So right where the log landing is, I'll give you this. This will help explain everything. Thank you. So if you look at the area that represents stand 6, STC 6, that is where the parking area and the trail kiosk and the gate that leads up the trail is. And that was the original log landing on the property. That's where the glossy buckthorn really took hold after the timber harvest. And it has spread, that's sort of a bullseye, it's spread across the property from there. So in the stewardship plan that was done by the forester Roger Plord, he recommended that we work with NRCS to control that buckthorn before it.
Right, to go in there
Before-
and cut down to herbicide it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That was
They did that at the library.
Oh, okay. So that was his recommendation. And so we worked with Patrick Conlon from Mass Wildlife to come in and look at what was there, and also Catherine Zakelli from NRCS. They both came out to the property, and Patrick Conlon actually came up with a plan. He went out and inventoried the whole property, and this map shows you where there have to be some pretty intensive treatment in that stand 6, and then all the other areas that are in the light dotted green, there would be some lighter treatment. But it would be a 3-year process to control it. And the company that we got 3 bids, the company Land Stewardship Inc., said that they should be able to get 99% control with the treatments over a 3-year period. It would, of course, because there's such a seed bank in the property, it would require that we be very vigilant for many years with volunteers to pull up the young saplings, but we have a really good volunteer base with the land trust, and I don't think that would be a problem. So we would like to go ahead and do that. And the second part of this is in stand 3. It's
Stand
a white
3.
pine stand. If you can picture the property, there's an old field that has grown up to white pine, and they're really gnarly old field pines that they're all weevil damaged. And the stewardship plan recommended that we clear cut that and either make it a field or let it grow back to early successional growth. That was also part of the farm plan because that area is actually prime agricultural soil. So what we would like to do is to clear cut that stand, and then we would make it a field, but it would be a pollinator meadow because we're not haying it or anything right now. So we would make it a pollinator meadow, just mow it every 1 to 3 years, the way we manage the fields, the remaining fields now. So that is our plan, which I think is well founded in the farm plan, the stewardship plan, the wildlife plan. We haven't just gone out and said, oh, we're going to do this. We've done a lot of research into it.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, that's one they want to clear cut.
Yep.
Where is it?
Yep.
That's a small lot, so
That's 2.5 acres.
2.5 acres, yeah.
It's right on the road, right on Barry Road.
Huh?
It's right on Barry Road.
Yeah, yeah. It's right on the road, yeah.
Isn't it, do we have a thing in town where when you reach 2 acres,
I'm not sure.
you have to go through, what is it, stormwater?
I'm not sure how that works. Do you,
I
Laura?
don't know,
Don't know.
but I can find out.
What are you thinking, Dave?
Usually, I'm not exactly sure. I thought it was after 2 acres of clear cutting. You had to go through, I don't know, I thought it was stormwater.
What would be involved in?
I don't know.
Oh, okay,
I've only heard that from,
okay. But you let me know if, I mean, we want to make sure that we're doing it, yeah, okay, great.
You probably talk to one of the, what's his name?
It may be,
Can't
Planning
think of what
board?
his name is. Who's the, person who okays all the cuttings?
Mike Downey?
Huh?
Mike Downey?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's probably the person you'd ask about that,
okay,
to make sure.
okay.
I was trying to think of who it was. We got 3 people we work with, so
Oh,
that's one of
okay.
them.
Yeah, he's the sort of regional service
Yeah,
forester.
yeah. Why don't you check with him and see if, what that 2-acre thing applies,
Okay,
and if it doesn't, you know,
it
just
may
give
have
us a-
nothing to do with anything,
okay,
you know.
just to be on the
It's
safe
something that
side.
I think I heard,
Well, it may not have anything to do with it, yeah, so, but, so the other areas that she's talking about, they wanna go in and herbicide it, like, you know, get all the,
yeah, like we did over at the,
library.
Right,
that was quite an area over at the library.
okay. Was it successful? Did you,
I think it was, 'cause they only had to do it,
Once,
I think one session, but wasn't it twice?
yeah,
It was
Yeah.
the first hit through it, then there was some months that went through, then a second time, and it seemed to eradicate it.
great. And was that glossy buckthorn that you had there?
Pardon?
Was it glossy buckthorn that you had at the library, or knotweed, or?
I'm not sure what the plant was.
I don't know, you'd have to talk to Johnny Brooks, cause he's, with the library, or somebody with the library, how they did it, but Johnny Brooks was the one that was there, cause part of it was done on his land that surrounds that area,
Okay,
but,
all right.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was very effective. It looks a lot nicer up there, and you can take a walk all the way out to the,
Oh,
Trailer park.
before you couldn't even really walk through without walking into something.
right.
Now it's open.
That's good. I mean, that's what's happening here, you know, on all the trails. I'll go in there in June and cut back all the buckthorn, which, you know, as soon as you cut back buckthorn, it just sprouts
Forever.
10
Doubles
times
back.
over.
Forever.
But then come the end of the summer when it has the berries, it just weighs down, so the whole trail is closed up again. But it's really taking over, you know, all the other natives are struggling, so
Okay.
we feel like this would be a good plan for the property.
okay, well. Anybody see any problem with them doing what they wanna do?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
All those in favor, let them go ahead?
I make a motion and in
I'll
favor.
second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank
You're
you,
all set.
thank you.
And,
6:31?
Huh?
6:31?
6:31. Yeah, that all takes care of that.
This stand of wood, this stand of pine
Oh.
woods, would you make any,
Yeah,
would you make any money on it to help this project?
No, I mean, it's just gunky, weevily, you know, multi-stemmed pines. It would cost us money to,
Yeah.
in fact, we are requesting at the town meeting on Wednesday,
Yeah,
CPA funds.
it's Richard Valcourt.
Oh, Rich Valcourt, okay, yeah,
He-
okay,
He's right there in Phillipston.
okay.
Want his number?
I think I have it, actually,
Okay,
because I've been in touch
249.
with,
6546.
could you repeat that?
Huh?
Could you repeat? 249,
249.
yeah.
And we'll live with it. Can you read that last number right there?
I can. 5546.
5546. Okay, that's Rich Valcourt. He's right there, he's right there in Phillipston, so
Yeah, okay,
he,
great.
he could, you know, answer your questions, I think would be upset.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Right, thanks for your help.
Okay. I want to thank the, MAC. I want to thank MAC for sending me a certificate of completion
Oh, terrific.
for my last two. So now I got 8 certified things. They sent me a thing in there. They sent a letter to the selectmen saying that I passed 8 of them. So,
8 units.
huh? 8 units.
8 units.
Yeah,
Very
8
good.
units. So, which is good. I got a little certificate and I got a little card from the boss.
Okay, I hope that reflects in the pay.
Oh, did you guys get your, email about the 5th of December?
You did.
Yeah, probably,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so if you wanna go up to the,
Old
the,
boards meeting.
see, the old folks' place, the senior center.
At the senior center,
Yeah.
yes.
They're gonna have pizza
Should
this
be.
year, you know how that, we have that yearly, all
Thank you,
boards get
Jesse.
together?
Oh,
Yeah, that's the 5th.
we usually had them at
Right,
Camelot.
Camelot,
yeah, but they're gonna have a senior center, and they're gonna have pizza this time.
the senior center,
Pizza.
nursing home?
No,
No,
the
no,
senior
no.
hall.
No, just beyond the cemetery.
Oh.
Yeah, the senior.
That's it.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Are you guys good with December 16th as your next meeting? That is the
Yeah.
third one.
Right, that is fine, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just remind yourself and her, just to let us know the Thursday before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was just trying to be nice.
You're gonna remember when I send it on a Thursday.
I know.
But
I-
yes, I will.
So I make a motion, we close?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Uh,
I
Aye. We're all set.